So now we're in the reports dashboard. Now this holds 10 thumbnails to navigate to 10 sections in the template. The first 3 are data entry sections, while the remaining 7 are formula generated sections. They're automatically generated by the template. The first data entry section is the location information section. This is where the user can update your location name. So recall I referenced this earlier on. I said you can modify the default values from location 1 to any name of your choice. To do that, you simply click on the thumbnail. It takes you to that section. On the first row, you'll find the default values listed. You can simply double click, replace the current values, and enter the new location name. Once you do, the template will automatically update all forms with this new value. So locator 1 will be removed and replaced with Abuja branch. To confirm this, we can go to any section, for instance, sales, click on new movement, and under location, we should see Abuja branch under location 2. Now, it's important to change the location names before you start using the template. This is to avoid having inconsistent or invalid data. So for instance, you notice we've already entered some transactions with location 1. So if we change the name from location 1 to 2, the template will not automatically update these values. So these will be inconsistent or invalid records because location 1 doesn't exist anymore. So before you enter transactions, kindly endeavor to update the location name first. Once you're done with that, then you can proceed to enter values to other sections. In addition, you can enter optional information for each location. So you can enter, for instance, the physical address, the project manager, or any contact information, just any optional additional information. So that covers the first data entry section. This is used to update the location names. Next, we have the production information section. Now, I already covered this section. This is where you enter your daily production activities. Recall we've already entered one production activity today, which is Zobo drink, 5 units, location 1. The next data entry section and the last is the schedule report. Now recall at the start of the video, I mentioned that this template has 3 major components. We have the material production schedule, the bill of materials, and the inventory records. Now I've covered the other 2. The bill of materials, that's the requirements section. I already covered that. The inventory records, that's pretty much the restock, sales, and starting quantities. Now the last section, which I haven't covered, is the master production schedule. And to create that, you make use of the schedule report. Now the master production schedule is basically the required demand. The template enables you create this over a 5-week period. So basically, the master schedule states which products are to be produced. So the first step is you need to list all the products that you expect to produce. Next, you need to indicate when they are needed. That's the required demand. Now at the top here, you notice we have a text informing us that we need to enter the start date. Now, as I said earlier on, the template supports creating the schedule for a 5-week period. So all you need to do is to enter the starting date. Once you enter the starting dates, the template will automatically calculate the 4 subsequent weeks from the start date. So if the start date is the 1st of January 2018, the template will automatically calculate a week from then, which is the 8th, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks. So basically we have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. And it's going to duplicate the time frame across the location. So you notice that each location is grouped separately. We have location 1 with the respective 5 weeks, location 2, 5 weeks, and it's going to replicate that to location 3 and also location 4. So all you need to do is to enter the start date. Now I'm going to change that to today's date. Notice the template will automatically calculate next week. So today is the 30th, but the start date is Monday, which is the 24th. The 24th, 7 days from that is the 31st, the 7th, the 14th, and then the 21st. That's the next. So first, the products that are produced. Next, when they're needed, based on this time frame. And the last is the quantities needed on a weekly basis, which you supply in the bottom fields. To start, you simply click on the Add Product button. So remember, the first thing we did is you need to enter the start date, because without the start date, you notice the other fields are blank. So it's the start date that you enter that enables Excel automatically updates the 4 subsequent weeks. Once you do that, the next step is to click the Add Product button. Once you do, it pops up a form. Now the template enables you enter up to 5 products at a time. So if you sell 15 products, it means you need to fill this form 3 times. Right now, we have only one active product, which is our Zobo drink. The wooden table isn't active because we haven't entered any raw materials. We haven't created any production. So I'm going to use only the Zobo drink for this demonstration. Later on in the video, if I can quickly add requirements and a production for wooden table, I'm going to repeat the process. So clicking on Zobo drink, clicking on enter, the template will automatically enter that on the first row. So we have Zobo drinks. So we've indicated the product name. We've indicated the time frame. Next, we need to indicate the quantities required each week. So you simply double click on the field below the week under the required location and product name. Now for the first product, let's assume week 1, there's a required demand of 10. The second week, there can be a required demand of 4. The third week, pretty much you can specify based on your company requirements. You can even leave some weeks blank. So I can leave the third week blank, move on here and enter 10 again, and then enter 4. So pretty much you enter the required demand for a 5-week period. You do this for each location. So location 1, you supply the values. Location 2, you supply the values, and so on. I'm going to leave the other locations blank and just start with location 1. So that's a summary of how the gross requirement schedule works. Simply click on Add Product, enter the products, indicate the weeks by entering the start week, and then the respective quantities. Once you're done, you can then move ahead to the net requirements report, which will automatically calculate for you the products you need to produce to meet up with the gross demand and the raw materials you need to purchase to meet up with the gross requirements. So moving on to the next report. So going to the report section, we have the net requirements report. Now this report works with the gross requirements. The only difference is that it extracts data from other sections also. So from the production section, from the raw material section. So clicking on it automatically opens up the report. Works exactly the same way. You expect it to supply 2 attributes. First, you need to indicate the location. The reason for this is that the requirements vary per location. Recall in the report section, we supplied values only for location 1. We indicated 10 for 10 for. Location 2 might have different requirements. So this can be, for instance, 11. This can be 12, so the values vary per location. So that's why the first step in the net requirements section is you need to indicate the location. This is a drop-down list. It's going to list all locations. I'm going to select location 1. Next, you need to tell the template your weekly production capacity. Now, this is your scheduled receipts. This is like what you're expecting your inflow. So for instance, how many products are you expecting in the first week, second week, third week, up until the 5th week in this location? Now, the template will automatically generate this report for each and every one of your products. It will do that for you to duplicate this table by the number of products you have. So if you have 10 products, it will duplicate this table 10 times. So we've selected the location. Next, let's just assume that our production capacity is 2, just for demonstration purposes. So every week, we are producing 2 additional units of each of our products. So you notice the moment I enter 2, the scheduled receipt row will automatically update with 2. So this is where you indicate the weekly production capacity. And you can always change this and play around with your data. But I'm entering 2 for the first example. Once you've indicated the 2 attributes, you simply click on the refresh button. Once you do, the template will do the rest for you. First of all, it will create tables for each product. So you notice this is Zobo drink. It will automatically enter that. At the top, it will create the summary for the product requirements. At the bottom, it will create summary for the raw material requirements. Now recall we haven't entered raw materials for the wooden table. That's why here is blank. Shortly, I'm going to do that. You notice it will automatically update this. So you notice because we specified location 1, the first gross requirements. Now the gross requirements extracts data from the master schedule we just created. So recall we entered 10 for 10 for. That's why the data is pulled out here. And that's for location 1. If I change this to location 2, just for demonstration purposes, and I click refresh again, it will automatically update this. So we should see, I think I entered 11 and 12. So you notice it returns 11 and 12, and all the other values have been automatically updated. So the gross requirements extracts data from, if I go back to the master schedule, from the data you enter here. So it's going to identify the location, the product, and then the union here is going to return the values. So we have 10 for 10 for location 1, 11, 12 for location 2. So going back to my reports, going back to my net requirements, I'm going to change this back to location 1, and I'm going to refresh it again. And once I do, we should see the 10 for 10 for. So that's the first row. Recall I said the upper section works with the finished goods, which is the Zobo drink. Next, we have our scheduled receipts. And as I said earlier on, this is the same as the weekly production capacity. So we said every week we can produce 2 units of Zobo drink, so it has 2 replicated every week. Beginning inventory. Now, the beginning inventory is automatically calculated by the template. It's going to make use of the product, Zobo, go through your data and see the total number of Zobo drinks produced up until the 30th. Then it's going to go to your sales section and then subtract the total number that you've sold or you've transferred to other location. And then it's going to tell you your balance. So right now it tells us our Zobo drink balance is 1. So we have 1 unit on the 30th of December, 2018. And let's confirm that. If we go to our production section, we'll see that we produced 5 units of Zobo. However, from the 5 units that we produced in the sales section, we sold 2 and then we transferred 2 to location 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4 minus 5. That means that our balance is indeed 1. So that's how the template arrives at the beginning inventory of 1. The ending inventory is the same. So beginning and ending is the same. Now the template carries this 1 forward, which is the beginning inventory, plus the 2 that you're expected to produce in week 1 because our weekly production capacity is 2. So 2 plus 1 gives us 3. So that's why the beginning inventory here says 3. You expected, the required demand in this week is 10. So 10 minus 3 is 5. So there's a shortage of 5, meaning that our net requirement is 5. We need to produce 7. 10 minus 3 is 7. So we need to produce 7 additional bottles of Zobo to meet up with week 1 demand. Our beginning inventory, week 2 will be 0, but we're expecting 2. That's why we have 2 here. 4 is the gross requirements. 4 minus 2 gives us a net requirement of 2. In the same way, our beginning inventory is 0. We're expecting 2. 2 plus 0 gives us 2. 2, there's no demand. So that means that we ended with 2 units. So the 2 is carried forward to the 4th week. We're expecting 2 to be produced. So 2 plus 2 gives us 4. 10, which is the gross requirements minus 4, gives us a net requirement of 6. In the same way, nothing is carried forward. 2 is expected to be produced. 2 plus 0 gives us 2. 4, which is the required demand, minus 2, gives us a net requirement of 2. So in the net requirement row, we can see what we're expected to produce to meet up with our growth required demand. And the template will do this automatically for us. So that's the upper section. Now the bottom section makes use of data in the upper section to tell you the raw materials that you need. It has only 2 rows. The first row tells you the gross requirement. Now this just works with the gross requirements of the final product. So recall that we said to produce 1 unit of Zobo drink, so going back to requirement section so I can refresh my memory, we need 0.1 units of Zobo leaves. So 0.1 is what is needed to produce 1. We need 10, 0.1 times 10, meaning that we need 1 kg of Zobo leaves. In the same way, 0.1 times 4 gives us 0.4. 0 here because there's nothing required this week. 1 here because 0.1 times 10, and in the same way, 0.1 times 4. So that's how it gets the gross requirements. Now the net requirements, basically what the template does here is that it looks at the net requirements here and multiplies that by your raw materials. Please note that for raw materials, the template does not use your stock levels. It uses your stock levels only for your finished product requirements. So here it tells you for net requirements, for 7 products, you would need 0.7. For 2 products, you need 0.2. For 0, you need 0, and so on. So it does this for each raw material. In addition to that, it tells you your beginning inventory. So you know that right now, for Zobo leaves, you have 49.5. The sum of all this is not up to 49.5. So you know that you actually don't need to buy anything. So you just need to produce more because your raw material balance is greater than your net requirements raw material requirements. It does this for every product. So if you scroll to the right, we have the wooden table. Now for the wooden table, we haven't yet entered raw materials. So I'm quickly going to do that so I can demonstrate how it works for multiple tables. So I'm just going to quickly go to the raw material section. We've already indicated to 2 raw materials, the top layer and the table legs. Next, we need to indicate the storage limit because we need to add the storage limit before we can add restock. So going to the storage limit section, I'm just going to click on add product. This is going to be a raw material. This is going to be the top legs. Click on enter. I'm going to repeat the same for the table legs and then for the wooden table. So I've added the 3 additional rows. The first 2 are the raw materials. The third is the product. For top layers, let's assume I'm just going to enter 5, and then the table itself, I'm going to enter 10. For location 2, I'm going to enter 10, 10, and then I'm going to enter 20. Okay, so I'm just entering random values, but you need to enter the maximum storage capacity for the top layers, which I've said is 5 for location 1 and 10 for location 2, 5 for location 1, 10, and then for the product. Next, I can now enter my restock. So once I add restock, so I count what I have in my warehouse and I enter it here, or when I buy additional units. Once I indicate the location, for instance, location 1, and I select top layer, it tells me I can have only 5. So I'm just going to enter that I purchased exactly 5. And I'm going to do the same for the tables, which should be 10. So the same location, the same tables. Capacity for location 1 is 5. Location 2, I think, is the one that's 10. There we go. And I'm going to enter, well, let me just change this back to location 1. Change this back to table legs. And I'm just going to make it also 5. So I'm at my storage capacity for the 2 products. So I can't buy additional units of either. If I attempt to, it tells me that I have 0. The location has a capacity of 5, but my space is 0 because I bought already 5. So there we go. So I've added that. If I go back to my restock, my raw materials, we should see that it is updated, 5, even though it's still below the reorder level, so it's still red. Next, I'm going to add the requirements. So what do I need of this to produce a table? To do that, I'm going to select my table and only 2 materials, which is the top layer and the 4 legs. So once I click enter, it's going to enter 2 rows. First, for my top layer, let's assume that I need 2. So 2 planks. And then for the legs, like most tables, I need 4. So I need 4 legs. So this is my requirement to produce 1 table. Next, I go to my production section now. And then I add a production for my table. I'm just going to leave the dates, use the same location. Once I select my table, it tells me my capacity. And I'm just going to produce 1 table. So once I produce 1 table, it's going to enter that on the second row. And to produce this 1 table, it should have reduced 2 from my top layers and 4 from my legs. So if I go to my usage summary, we should see 2 for my top layers and 4 for my table legs. Same way if I go to my raw materials, you notice the balance is reduced. 2 from 5, so that's why we have 3, and then 4 from 5, that's why we have 1. So now that we've produced, I can go ahead and now create my schedule. So my schedule for that product, so I click new product, I select the wooden table, click on enter. It's going to insert that on my second row. And here, I'm going to enter the weekly required demand. So let's assume the demand here is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or let me just do 6. I'm going to leave the last week blank. And I'm going to do the same for location 2. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Just random values. Did I enter that correctly? No, I did not. 1, 2. There we go. So I've added my required demand schedule for the 5 weeks in location 1, 5 weeks in location 2. So the first is 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I go back to my reports and I go to my net requirements, I select location 1, the same thing. I don't need to change any of the attributes here. Once I refresh, we should now see raw materials. So there we go. It automatically returned the 2 raw materials, the top layers and the table legs. Now, so that we can better see this table, I'm just going to scroll to the right so that I can make the second product the center of the screen. There we go. So this is the finished product, which is our wooden table. And at the top here, it's going to give us details pertaining to the finished product. So recall this is the gross requirements we specified, 3, 4, 5, 6 for that location, wooden table. We can confirm that by going back to the schedule report. Recall that for location 1, indeed, we specified 3, 4, 5, 6. For location 2, however, we specified 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, which I'm going to show shortly. So that's how it arrives at the gross requirements. Does it per product. Next, the scheduled receipts, recall that's a weekly production capacity, which is 2. So 2 is repeated across all cells. Beginning inventory, recall we entered only 1 production. So we produced only 1 table. That's why we have 1. So 1, which is the starting, plus the 2 we're expecting that week, gives us a total of 3. 3 minus 3 gives us 0. So there is no additional production required to meet up with demand for week 1. For week 2, however, the gross requirement is 4. We started with 0, so nothing is carried over. 2 is expected that week, so 4 minus 2 gives us 2. So there's a net requirement of 2, so we need to produce 2 additional wooden tables to meet up with demand for week 2. The same for week 3, so it repeats the process. Nothing is carried over. 2, 5 minus 2 gives us 3. So that way it arrives at the net requirement. So in total, to be able to meet up with your 5-week requirement, to just sum up the values here, you need to produce an additional 9 products, all things being equal. Now, at the bottom, we have the raw material. So there are 2 raw materials. It tells us that for the top layers, we have a beginning inventory of 3. For the table, we have beginning inventory of 1. Now, for the first gross requirement, it uses the values here. So recall that we specified that 2 top layers are needed for each table. So it's simply going to multiply this by 2. So 3 times 2 gives us 6, 4 times 2 gives us 8, and so on. Because 2 units of this raw material is needed to produce 1 table. In the same way, for the net requirement, it's simply going to multiply this by 2. So 2 times 2 gives us 4, 4 times 4 gives us 8. Now for the table legs, recall that we specified that each table requires 4 table legs. So 4 units of this product is needed to produce 1 table. So in the same way, it's going to be the gross requirements times 4. So 6 times 4 gives us 24. And the net requirements times 4. So 4 times 4 gives us 16. So the total raw materials we need to be able to meet up with the net requirement is 36. And we have only 1, so we know we need to purchase 35 additional units. So the template will do this for you automatically using your weekly production capacity. So if I increase this, for instance, to 4, and I click refresh, it will automatically update all the values. So there we have it. So, and this is based on your weekly production capacity. So this is for 2. Recall we have 5, 2, 6, 2. So that's the net requirements. If I change this from 2 to, for instance, 5, and I refresh, you notice it will automatically increase the net requirements or update it. So now it's only 4 that we need here, and then we don't need any for the subsequent weeks. So depending on the weekly production capacity and your gross requirements, it will automatically compute the other values for your finished products and also for your raw materials. And these are the only 2 products we have. If I change this from location 1 to location 2 and I click refresh, you notice that the gross requirements will change. Recall that for wooden table, I think we had 1, 2, there we go, 1, 2, 3. Scroll to the right, 1, 2. So that's updated everything. And with a weekly production of 5, we really don't need to do anything. It's going to be sufficient for the entire 5-week period. So that's how the template works. The net requirements report will automatically tell you the net requirements in terms of finished goods and the net requirements in terms of your raw materials. It will equally tell you your beginning inventory. Once you subtract the 2, you know if you need to buy additional raw materials. Now that covers the net requirements report. Moving on to the product summary report. Now, as the name says, this just enables you to view your monthly product summary. Recall that in the product information section, that's in the production section, this is where you list your daily production. So depending on the volume of production and your business, it's possible you might produce multiple products in a particular day, and this section is going to be extremely clustered because this is going to be the database for all production information. But you might just want to extract a portion of the data. So I might just want to see production activities in a particular month. Then you make use of the production summary. So it works very simply. At the top, you simply indicate the year you want to see and the months that you want to see. Once you do that, it will automatically filter the data and show you only transactions that you need to see, or transactions that meet the 2 criteria here. Now, all our transactions are in December, so the 2 transactions are listed. But if I add another month, we'll find the other months listed here. Next, we have the raw material usage. It's the same. You can be able to view the usage on a monthly basis. So that way you can know the total number of each raw materials that you used every month. There we go. At the top, you indicate the year you want to see. Next, you indicate the month you want to see, and it's going to break it down, showing you per location. So for instance, it tells you for this location, these are the 2 products that were produced. This is the raw material that was used. This is the respective quantities. So you know that, for instance, location 1 for Zobo drink, it's used this. It's used this. So this just gives you a better pictorial view as opposed to the usage section. And you can see this for a particular product. So you can use the filter here to see only for the wooden table. It's going to hide all the other products. You can see only for Zobo, it's going to hide all the other products. So this just at a glance, you can be able to see the raw materials that you used, the products you used them for, and the location in which they were used for any year and for any month. Now the next report is the movement summary. This also enables you to see the monthly summary for the sales section, so that you can be able to know all the sales transactions in a particular month, all the transfers in a month. Works the same way. You can filter by year and month. You indicate if you want to see only sales, it's going to hide all the transfers. And if you want to see only transfers, it's going to hide all the sales. So that at the end of the day, you can be able to know, okay, across all. Now, if you want to clear this filter, you simply make use of the funnel in the upper right. So right now, it's showing me only transfers. That's why transfer is grayed out. If I want to see sales, notice once I click sales, sales will be grayed out and transfers will be white. So the white portion is not being showed. Now, if I want to see the two, that's everything, I simply click on the funnel in the upper right hand corner. It's going to clear the filter and list both sales and transfers. Going back to my reports, the next is our location inventory report. Now, this is very useful. Recall that I mentioned that in the product section, we can see the total products across all 4 locations. So we know Zobo drinks, we have a total of 3. These 3 can be in location 1, 2, 3, or 4. We really don't know. This just tells us the total we have across the 4 locations. Now, so at some point, you might want to know the specific number you have in a particular location, which I think is more valid data. To do that, you make use of this report. Once you click on it, all you need to do is to indicate the location you want to see. So for instance, I want to see the summary for location 1. It shows you the inventory summary. Once you click refresh, it's going to list all of your products, tell you the total number that was produced in location 1. So you know that Zobo, 5 units has been produced in location 1. 1 unit of tables has been produced in location 1. From the 5, this is the total that has been sold. Now, this is an aggregate total. So it's point in time. It shows you the total transactions up until today. So today is the 30th of December. It's showing you all transactions that happened before today and today. If you refresh it tomorrow, it's going to show you all transactions up until tomorrow. So that's how it is. It's point in time. So here it's going to tell you the total produced, the total sold, the total that you transferred in, the total that you transferred out, and the balance. So you know you produced 5. From the 5, you've sold 2. You transferred out 2. That's why you have 1. The same for the wooden table. You produced 1. You still have 1 because you did not sell or transfer any out. I can see the same for location 2 for any of my locations. So you can be able to see the inventory summary, the inflow, the outflow, the production, and the sales. So once I click refresh, you should always remember to click refresh once you change the location. You notice that for Zobo, there's been no production in location 2. However, you transferred 2 units in. So since 2 came in, you have a balance of 2. And the 2 is the one we transferred earlier on in the video. Okay, so this just enables you to see your location inventory summary. It's actually very useful. And next, we have our reorder level summary. Now, the reorder level summary works with our reorder column. Recall that in the product section, we have reorder. In the raw material section, we have reorder. Now, in addition to the red trigger, now this red trigger is already very useful because at a glance, you already know that you need to produce more of the top layers and more of the, you need to purchase, more of the top layers and more of the table legs. In the same way, the production section, you know you need to produce more of the 2 products because it's red. That means the balance is less than the reorder. Now, to go a step further, we have the reorder summary. And this just enables you to view products that are due for reorder. So later on, it's possible that you might have, 50, 20, a lot of products here. So it can be quite stressful trying to identify where the red alert is, the corresponding row. So you simply make use of the 9th report. So once you click on it and you click refresh, it's going to list per location, the type, the item, the current quantity, the reorder level, and the difference. Now, this will only list the items that you need to reorder. So first of all, it's going to group it by location. So this pertains to location 1. All the products, which is 2, all the raw materials, which is 2. This pertains to location 2. The products you have, the raw materials that you have. And it's going to repeat the same for all of your locations and all of your items. Now it tells us, for instance, for the first one, for Zobo drink, current quantity we have is 1. The reorder level is 20, so there's a difference of 19. You need to order more for location 1. Location 2 also, Zobo drink, you need to order more. You have 2, the reorder level is 20, 18. For location 3, the same thing, Zobo drink. The reorder level is 20, you have nothing, so you need to reorder. So it's going to repeat that for all of your locations. So these are the 4 locations. And all you needed to do was to click the refresh button. Next, we have the storage limit report. Now, the storage limit report enables you indicate the upper limit, and then it's going to list all raw materials with storage capacity specified and above. So what that means is, recall we indicated storage capacity here. So we indicated, for instance, in location 1, there's a storage capacity of 50. Let's say you have 40 kg of Zobo leaves in location 1, which means that you still have space for 10 kg. So this template here enables you specify. So for instance, I want to see all of my products that have a storage space of 10 and above. So if there's still available space of 10 and above, it's going to list the products that still have that in your storage location. So there we go. So the storage limit is 100 for the Zobo drink. We have one, so there's still 99. Recall that storage limit location 1, what we did enter was 100 for location 1. So it's going to list all products and raw materials that you have space of 10 and above. If I increase this, for instance, to 1000, it's probably not going to show me any product because there's no product that I have space for an additional 1000 items. So it's just going to tell me how many products do I have, or how many products and raw materials can I buy 10 or more from. So I can buy 10 or more of Zobo drinks, of sugar, and so on. So storage space of that unit and above. I hope that explains it. So it enables you indicate an upper limit. So I indicate 10. And so it's going to list all products that have storage capacity, that's available space of 10 and more. So any product that has 10 available spaces plus or more, so 10, 11, 12, and so on, will be listed below. Any that has a storage space of 9 will not be listed. And let me just demonstrate that. Here, for instance, we can see that wooden table and Zobo leaf have space for 20. So that means that if I indicate a storage capacity of 25 and above, these should not be listed because these are all less than 25. I should see only 2 products, which is the 99 and the 198. So if I refresh, you should notice that it will hide everything and show me only those 2 products, the 99 and the 198. So I hope that better explains. So these are the only 2 products that I can produce 25 units and more. So I've gone over the 7 default reports in the reports dashboard, and now I'm going to go over the add-on report, which is the what if summary. Now this just enables you view some production possibilities. Now once you click the report to open it up, it requests for 2 criteria. First, you need to indicate the daily production units, that's quantity, and next you need to select the location. Now what this report enables you do is it enables you increase or decrease your daily production capacity for a particular location, and then it tells you how long your existing raw materials can last. So if it can last for 2 days, 3 days, and so on. Now, first you need to indicate your daily production capacity, which is fixed. So let me enter, for instance, 4. So every day I expect to make produce 4 Zobos and 4 tables. Next, for my location, I indicate the location 1. So the template is going to automatically generate a report using my existing raw material quantity. So it's going to tell me that these are the 2 products I have. So if you have 10 products, the 10 products are going to be listed on the first column. Next, at the top, it's going to list all your raw materials as column headers. So right now we have only 4 raw materials and they're listed here. If you have 20 raw materials, they're going to be 20 adjoining columns. Now, under each is going to tell you what you require on a daily basis. So the daily raw material requirements. So since you plan to produce 4 every day, it's going to tell you to produce 4, you need 0.4, because recall that you need 0.1, which is 1%, 100 grams of Zobo leaves to make 1 Zobo. In the same way, here you need 0.04 because remember you need 1% of a packet of sugar. So this is the daily requirement to make 4 Zobo drinks and 4 tables. Now, when it sums it together, so that's the total daily requirement. The available quantity you have is 49. So you have 49, a bit over 49 kg of Zobo leaves and a bit over 9 packets, each 500 grams of sugar. So when it does the math, it tells you that your Zobo leaves can be able to last you for 123 days and your sugar can be able to last you for 248 days based on this daily capacity. Now, if I increase this to, for example, let's say you want to produce 200 every day of your Zobo drinks, you notice it automatically refreshes. So I'm just going to select location 1 again so that I can refresh the report. And you notice now it tells me it can last me for only 2 days, because to produce 200 bottle drinks, I would need 200 kg of Zobo leaves, and I have only 49, a bit over 49. So this can last me for only 2 days, and this can last me for only 4 days. So you can always change the daily production capacity. Any value you enter, the template will automatically refresh and calculate the lifespan of the products that you have. It does the same for your wooden tables. So let me just refresh that again. So whenever you change any of the criterias, kindly reselect the location. So for instance, for your wooden tables, it tells you that to be able to produce 50 wooden tables, you need 50 times 2 layers because it takes 2 per table, and 50 times 4 legs, which is 200. Right now, you currently have only 3 layers and 1. So that means that the quantity you have cannot even do you a day. It can do you half of a day, which pretty much anything below 0 just means that it's not sufficient for a day. So that's how the template generates this. And you can always change this. So if I change this to, for instance, 5, you notice instantaneously all the values have updated. It tells me that for a daily production of 5, this is the quantity of raw materials I would need for Zobo. This is the quantity that I would need for wooden tables. At the bottom is going to sum it together. Now, the advantage of this summation is that it's possible that you might use Zobo leaves for multiple products. For the example I used in this template, Zobo leaves is used for only Zobo drink, but that doesn't always apply in every company. Some of your raw materials can be used in the production of multiple of your products. So in that case, it's going to sum it all up here. So the daily requirements here is the grand total across all of your products. So the total Zobo leaves that you need not only for Zobo drink, but for any other product that requires Zobo leaves. Right now is the same because only our table needs this and only Zobo drinks need that. So at the bottom here, it's going to tell you the total daily requirements. Next, it's going to tell you the available quantity as at today. So today is the 30th of December. As at today, this is what you have. So going by this production, this is how long it can last you, the number of days. Okay, and you can always, as I said, increase the values or decrease the values. So that's a summary of the last report. Thanks and do take care.